what's going to happen now? We move up. We move up a stage onto the next category, the second category. This is growth stage startups. What does this actually mean? Again, 1 to 10 million ARR. Again, 3 startups, 3 big ideas that have been chosen from so many in the past. We went through semi-finals, and now we have our 3 ready and waiting backstage to come to the stage and share with you, share with our jury member, and you at home, wherever you are as well, their big ideas. Are we ready? I think we are. Ladies and gentlemen, please, hands together for our very first startup of the growth stage category of Demo 2022. And that very simply is called Sastrify.
My name is Sven, CEO and co-founder at Sastrify, and I'm super excited to show you now how we make the procurement for software as easy as shopping on Amazon. But before we dive into that, I want to ask a question. What makes the world's most valuable companies so successful? You might think it's their marketing. You might think it's the money they make or the investors. But in the end, it really boils down to 2 important things. It's the people you hire, but it's the software that you buy. And talking about software, well, you might have seen this man before. Famous investor Mark Andreessen wrote in the Wall Street Journal that software is eating the world. But that was already 11 years ago. And I mean, with you as practitioners and procurement experts here, I think we can argue that in the world of cloud software and in the world of self-renewing contracts, software as a service is actually eating the world. How does it look in practice? Well, 2,084 contracts. More than 2,000 contracts in a single company. That's real life. That's what we see at our customers every single day. And who's taking care of that? Well, us as procurement professionals. But what's the difficulty with that? Well, it's super complex. There's more than 300,000 different software suppliers out there. It's incredibly intransparent. You never know if you're paying the right price or if you could have been a little bit harder, a couple more percentage points. And obviously, it takes a ton of time and cost to do it. And then all of us know the colleague on the left here, well, who wants to have their software tools and don't want to wait for procurement. So how would a solution look like that sums all of that up, makes it really easy for us to take the right decisions at the right time? That's how we build Sastrify. We enable what we call agile software procurement. We start by helping the stakeholders find the right software solutions directly on the platform and trigger a procurement process that's both structured but customizable for our customers and includes everything from IT security compliance to legal reviews in one single platform. Also, we use the power of our data and help our customers with benchmark data of millions and millions in software spend that we feed into that process. Finally, we don't stop at the purchase order or the actual buying part. We take care of it afterwards. We take care of those contracts, the life cycle, and make sure they don't auto-renew without asking the stakeholders if they even still need the software. Where has this taken us? So we started Sastrify about 2 years ago. Today, we're serving hundreds of clients around the world. And with more than 22,000 different vendors on the platform, we actually saved customers such as the famous delivery service Gorillas, but also companies like Runtastic, bought by Adidas, or On Running, millions and millions in SaaS spend. And for us again in this room, thousands of hours of procurement work. Over the last 2 years, we were very fortunate to meet about 130 Sastronauts that joined our team, and we're really able to build a leadership team which is consistent of people from the SaaS world, but also from the procurement world. So now that I've shown you what we can do for our customers and why they love us, well, if you're ready, just drop me an email right now to sven@sastrify.com. Can be a blank email, or just grab me after the session. Excited to show what we can do for you. Thank you.
There we are. So first startup in the growth stage category. Let's hear again from our jury members about how they felt about what they've just heard.
Thank you for the overview. What kind of savings, either productivity improvements or just general improvements in experience, have your clients seen in using your software?
Yeah, so one of the exciting things about software is that it has pretty high gross margins, which enables us to really find a high savings potential. And so typically we end up on average over the whole stack, somewhere around probably 35%-ish, but it actually goes from 5% to even 100%. So we actually had deals where we just got the software for free for some time. So it's really about knowing where you want to get and what are the right questions to ask there.
How do you think about the price that you charge your customers relative to the value measured in savings that they get every year, in both the first year when maybe they're super unoptimized and then year 2, 3, and 4?
Very good question. So we're now going into the third year with our customers, and it's really interesting to see that they love the workflow part, they love the time to save them. That's the part they like and love most. And then obviously the savings allow us to be just super ROI positive and even budget neutral for them. So typically we end up somewhere at like 5 times to 10 times ROI, but that always keeps going over the course because software is basically changing every year. People are exchanging their software stack, so that's really what keeps us going.
Seems like it's a relatively crowded space with a lot of recently pretty well-funded companies talking about doing the same thing. How are you unique, or what do you bring to the table here?
Very good point. So it's a nascent category. Everybody's, and I'm actually happy that there's so many people taking care of this right now. I think the two things that our customers really value at Sastrify, and also why we see, for example, people coming over from competitors to us, is that the platform is really thought through end to end, which is again the workflow part, which makes it really interesting for people. And then the second piece is that we also actively work with vendors, because procurement is not a one-way street in the end. So we also take care of the vendors and make sure everybody gets a good deal on that end.
2 minutes. We've got 2 minutes on the clock. Still 2 minutes. Oh, if you're yep.
I had a question about integration. So you had mentioned that you were also able to help to identify when contracts are up for renewal, making sure that all of that is checked out before you auto-renew. How are the other integrations across all the other platforms that might be in an ecosystem? How does that work?
So there's 2 stages where we focus on integrations. One is the first input part, so really finding out, discovering what software is already in the enterprise, because obviously, I guess any company in the world already has some software licenses. So what we do is we integrate either with the ERPs, so the NetSuites, the SAPs of this world, or on the other side, the SSO providers, so Okta, everything that's coming more from an IT landscape. That gives us a pretty transparent just picture of what's there. And the cool part for procurement is we actually also see what's not being paid for. Where's somebody trialing something out that they shouldn't probably try out? So that's one important piece, the intake part. And then the second part, which we're currently working on, is how do we actually integrate in existing procurement workflows? So where's other tools like their contract management software where you have a call out somewhere when legal is doing their review? So how does that look like? That's then the second part of integrations.
I'm curious what you're seeing with the software vendors of the Salesforces of the world as this category continues to mature, other competitors enter. What are they feeling, and how do you see that evolving over the next couple of years?
So, I mean, it's fair to say that it's mixed feelings. But what we see is that we also bring a lot of advantage to them in managing the process on the buyer side, because in the end, it's important for them to do both, well, first logo acquisition and upsells. But the interesting part is that we really increase sales velocity. So we know who to involve on the customer side. It's a way more structured process. And the worst case scenario is always for a salesperson getting stuck at legal or getting stuck at ITSec. And we make it super transparent of where it's in the process and when they can expect results.
And there we have it, 4 minutes over and out. Ladies and gentlemen, hands together for Sastrify. Well done. I hear a few woos and cheers. Hopefully, you'll be able to share your woos and cheers in the form of your vote. So again, remember slido.com hashtag. You can see it on the screen there behind me. Demo 2020. It was on behind me. Demo. It still is. Demo 2022. And at the end of this session, at the end of this category, again, we would love to hear your vote, to hear what you think. And again, open to those online, wherever you are. I'd love to hear your comments and hear and see how you feel about what you see here on stage. And if you agree that I do look like a waiter, please do not let me know. Right, we move on now to our second startup of the growth stage category. Please welcome to the stage startup simply called Craft.
Hello, DPW. My name's Ilya Levtov, founder and CEO of Craft. Delighted to be here with you. We're the supplier intelligence platform. And why should anyone care about supplier intelligence, I hear you ask? Well, everyone here knows only too well the disruptions that affected all our supply chains over the last few years. From the pandemic to cyber attacks, labor shortages, war in Ukraine, on and on. And amid these events, it's been hard for enterprises to see clearly who are my suppliers, where are they, and what's happening with them. And visibility and continuous monitoring of that is what Craft helps solve. We started Craft with a simple yet ambitious vision to organize all the world's information about companies. We ingest data from millions of supplier websites every day and enrich that with data from hundreds of other sources. The result is the most comprehensive insight into suppliers. Not just financial health, the basics, but advanced insights like ESG impact, cyber posture, reputation, legal compliance, and many more, all brought together into a single, easy-to-use interface. We all know what know your customer means, and Craft helps you know your supplier. Here's a quick backdrop, snapshot of the company, of our business. We've grown about 3.5 times in the last year, have just over 60 large enterprise customers. We're a team of about 70 crafties today, many of whom are here, our team in the US and EMEA, and we've raised about $26 million in venture capital to date. I'd now like to show just a few screenshots from the product to give you a feel for what it can do. So here we're looking at advanced search, where you can search among 20 million suppliers on 19 different attributes and growing. Proactive alerts are generated either from events or significant changes in data. We've got a risk dashboard that's configurable and indicates which suppliers warrant extra attention on a variety of different risk dimensions with benchmarks and scores. Our N-tier product helps illuminate who are the suppliers of your suppliers. And then in case management, we enable you to execute the actual steps you need to take with the suppliers digitally in the application rather than offline. Customers are all over the world today, typically large enterprises with large interconnected global supply chains. Some of our most popular verticals are aerospace and defense, industrial manufacturing, services, but that's by no means exhaustive, and we've got companies outside of that, those categories as well. The feedback we get from our customers consistently tells us we're saving hours and sometimes years of time and enabling them to make their supply chains clearer, more visible, and more resilient. Our team brings experience from a wide range of top-tier companies, headquartered in San Francisco and London for our EMEA team. We've been fortunate to attract funding from some of the top enterprise software investors in the world, such as Greycroft and High Alpha. Also some incredible individuals, former CEOs of IBM, Deloitte, and COO of Okta are active investors and advisors in the company. To close, I'd like to summarize what we're building by describing it in these 4 layers of a value stack that all work together and build something that we believe could be very, very impactful. At the bottom layer, the data platform. Above that, analytics. Above that, workflows. And finally, our own distribution. Our profiles appear in over 100 million search results in Google every month, bringing 2 million people to the site every single month with no marketing spend.
And I'm going to stop you there.
Thank you. Please visit us at the lounge next door or connect with me on LinkedIn.
Great. Just in time. Right, okay, let's move across to our judges and hear how they felt about what they've just heard.
Maybe if we could go one notch deeper on that last slide.
Yeah, thank you. I'd like to. Can I go back? No, I don't think I can.
What is it that makes you different? Why are you guys going to win this?
Yeah.
And again, what is seeming to be a space a lot of companies are asking about.
Okay, hold on a second. So this one, the platform, right?
If this is why you're different.
Yeah, absolutely, on that question. What we've seen in the market over the last couple of years is there are a lot of point solutions, and they're very good at the thing they do. But what we're seeing with these largest companies that are really looking how to rewire the way that their procurement and supply chain operates in a big way. We've seen a real appeal to a platform that does all of these layers in an integrated way. It's flexible and it's adaptable, but it just does very many things in one application, and it saves our customers from having to piece together 10, 12, or 15 different solutions to get what they want. And we're finding that that's very appealing. It's hard to do. It's a ton of work. We've been doing it for 6 or 7 years.
Thank you. The question that I had was around the difficulties that you found in working with the clients that you have. Some of the, I guess, the core challenges that they've had, and then how easy or how difficult has it been for you to work through those with them?
Yes. So because we're working with some of the largest companies in the world, Fortune 500s and massive government agencies, I'd say one of the challenges is that they're all a bit different. So there's a lot of nuance in how, for example, is the relationship between procurement and supply chain there, and risk and finance. And I would say our approach to that has always been being extremely flexible. We love to take a great partnership approach with the customers. That's why we have, several dozen customers, not hundreds or thousands. It enables us to go in there with our product team, our sales engineering team, as well as our customer success team, and really work from all the software that we've built to create and tailor a solution that fits their specific model. And we've been able to do that with quite a lot of success, resulting in that positive feedback that we receive.
Just to piggyback, so then it's part of your strategy to kind of stay small and deep with the customers that you have right now. How do you see yourselves growing, I guess, in the next 5 years?
Well, I wouldn't say small, because while the number of customers is intentional and controlled, the contract values are relatively high. I mean, they are deep engagements and 5 and 6 and sometimes 7-figure contract values on an annual basis. As we scale up, and we're making very strong progress on the additional funding round beyond the 26 million that we've raised to date, and that's going to enable us to staff up and continue to expand the business by somewhere between 2 and 3x annually for the next few years.
10 seconds on the clock. Anything you want to say in 10 seconds, go for it.
Should I ask a question? How do you drive continued usage on the SaaS application piece in the context of having Coupa, other SaaS applications that procurement teams are logging into?
Yeah.
Do they also have to log into Craft separately?
That's
you can't answer that. I'm sorry.
Well, later. I'd love to. It's a great
Ladies
question.
and gentlemen, hands together for Craft. Well done. There we have it again. 4 minutes can go very, very slow for some of us, for many things we do naturally, but naturally can go very, very quickly indeed. We've already heard two. We've heard two startups, two big ideas of the growth stage category. Remember, 1 to 10 million ARR. And now we're on to the third. The last of the three for this category. Please welcome to the stage a startup called Certa.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. My name is McConville, and I'm VP of Business Development at Certa, based in New York. Thrilled to be here at DPW Amsterdam to share with you how we're solving the problem of third-party lifecycle management. Certa's vision is to make it easy to do business with good companies. As everyone in this room knows, procurement teams field a lot of heat from their internal customers and suppliers when it comes to procurement processes. Some of the most common complaints we see are listed here, but why do we see them? What we find is that most companies, large or small, are still, at least in part, relying on manual processes for procurement and supplier onboarding. So typical complaints include, number one, the fact that it takes far too long to onboard suppliers. Number two, that with disparate regional teams using point solutions based on their domains, it can be an inefficient process. Third, there's typically a complete lack of transparency and visibility into exactly what the process is, what's been done, what's still outstanding, and who's responsible. And finally, it's almost impossible using different point solutions to get a holistic view of the risk of a supplier across the multiple risk domains you need to account for. Having worked in risk and compliance for the past 15 years, I can say with full confidence that this area is critically and growing in critical importance. There are myriad risk domains that you need to account for when engaging with a third party, which, as we all know, is where most of your risk comes from, with new risks emerging every day. And so trying to manually manage these processes can be very inefficient, if not impossible. It can also slow things down and increase cost while decreasing user satisfaction and overall productivity. So we've talked about the pitfalls of the current manual procurement landscape, and now let's talk about the automated future with Certa. Certa creates a single point of entry for all of your global suppliers and stitches together all of the components of your procurement ecosystem. We integrate all of the various third-party data sources, enterprise systems, and stakeholder groups that you're engaging throughout the process in order to drive automation and create a single source of truth across the enterprise with full visibility. This leads to much better outcomes for all stakeholders, both internal and external. So why do our customers love us? Here I've included some examples of benefits that our customers have realized with Certa, including much faster onboarding. Box was able to triple the speed with which they were able to onboard their suppliers. Uber was able to double the number of suppliers onboarded during hypergrowth while reducing their vendor management team by half. And a large superstore retailer was able to move to Certa during a time when they were under a high degree of regulatory scrutiny in order to mitigate risks across a spectrum of risk. Finally, D&B was able to optimize efficiency and reduce the number of requests and questions they were receiving due to our process transparency. So again, with Certa, no matter what you're buying, you're able to automate the process, bring everything together, engage everyone, and drive that speed, efficiency, and reduced risk. There are other providers in the landscape that are claiming to do similar things to Certa, so how are we different? Number one is our degree of flexibility, so fully configurable and able to align with your exact business requirements. Second, we're no code, so using drag and drop interfaces to make any changes and bring new modules online. We have over 100 existing API integrations, and we bring new ones online all the time. And finally, we're modular, so we can grow with you and bring new modules for things like contract lifecycle management or ESG-related concerns into the fold as needed. And finally, just wanted to share a sampling of our customers, and as you can see, they really span multiple industries, sizes, and maturities. Thank you.
Right on time, exactly to the second. Fantastic. Right, let's hear from our jury members.
Thank you. In terms of the customer segment that you're targeting, large enterprise, what are some of the challenges that you face in the sale, including integrations and adoption, and how do you overcome those?
I think one of the biggest challenges, especially at large organizations, is that people feel a sense of ownership over the existing tools that they have. And so that can be a problem if you're trying to displace all of those tools. And I think one benefit of Certa is that we're data and systems agnostic. So if you have your go-to data source or your go-to resource for a particular risk area or an enterprise system that you like to use, we have an open API architecture and we can integrate with it in order to bring it into the fold. So it really lowers those barriers and objections.
And just one more, can you go in with a smaller engagement and expand, or do you typically have to go from the top down and have it be used enterprise-wide?
That's a great question. So we typically do exactly that. So we'll typically enter for a specific use case like supplier onboarding, and then because we're a workflow automation solution and we can support the onboarding and monitoring of multiple third-party types, we might grow into an area where you do customer onboarding, partner onboarding, various different types of third parties. So very, very common.
So what's the integration process like at the small customers?
Sure. So the nice thing is because we have over 100 existing pre-built integrations, most of the leading systems and data sources we've already integrated within the procurement ecosystem. And then as long as there's an API capability, if a client wants to bring a new source or a new system online, we can integrate with that using our implementation team. So we kind of map out what needs to be done and then engage with their team, build that out, and then it's another logo from a systems or data perspective that clients can engage automatically.
Thank you. For the onboarding that you were talking about, are you basing it off of what your clients already use to onboard suppliers and then just pull the data, or are they going also into your solution to add any additional information to further enrich so that you can manage?
Perfect question. So very commonly what we'll do is work with clients to digitize their existing processes and then of course account for any improvements or efficiency gains that they'd like to make as a result of that. But typically people will begin with what they have. So if they're using a particular ERP, they're using certain data sources for validations or sanction screening or you name it, we'll integrate all of those. And then as they mature and they want to bring new data sources online, new risk domains are emerging, maybe they're doing business in a new area where there's a new area of concern that they want to mitigate, we're able to bring that into the fold, engage new stakeholder groups, and dynamically bring those information sources and systems online as is necessary.
Are you finding that one single use case or pain point has been easier for you to sell and get in, whether it's risk or efficiency, et cetera, or is it a little more diversified?
Yeah, I would say that there are probably two. Definitely risk and compliance have been a huge area of concern, especially recently, whether you're talking about information security, sanctions, you name it. So that's definitely one of people's main focus right now, I think, that they're looking for a solution to optimize what they have, get the most value from their tools, and make sure that they're tightly mitigating that risk. But data quality is very close behind. So making sure that when you're capturing bank data or tax information or collecting a tax form, that that information is accurate, and when you go to pay the supplier, you're not going to run into any issues that are then going to cause delays and disrupt your supply chain.
And that wraps up 4 minutes. Nice and sweet. Ladies and gentlemen, hands together for Certa. Well done. Fantastic. There we have it. So we have just heard 3 startups, the finalists for the growth stage category, and that wraps that up for that.